So you found the skeleton. How would you tell it's a dinosaur? You personally, how would you decide?
Well, interesting question. I don't know. I'd have to do some research on this.
Hey everybody, Merry Christmas. I am of course here for the AMA, and you know what? This chat is a little big. Let's shrink it down a little bit. Yeah, I didn't realize just how much that was going to take up the room. So, I am here in my Starfleet Command office. Starfleet Command, there you go. You know, my festive hat here. On this side. A little bit more balance there. So, welcome. Let's see. We already have a question from Fade to Grey. This is an AMA, in case you're just clicking on this randomly. Fade to Grey says, is that a beard dapper, or did you murder a snowman? I murdered a snowman. Yep, I ate a snowman. And there you go. Goofball Gorgon, Utskea, who's been a member for 15 months, and is at the tetrapod level, says, 15 months? Sweet. That is sweet. And I really do appreciate you being here so consistently. And let's also fix this little guy here. I'm apparently just super bad at getting the chat to line up last minute, because I didn't add it until the last minute. So there you go. Yes, it is the Dapper Human Suit, Julian Delisato. Merry Christmas to all of you. I hope all of you are having a wonderful Christmas. I'm having right now, this is a eggnog latte. It's delicious. I mean, it's got eggnog in it, so, you know, it's gonna be delicious. So, hey, start sending questions. Let's see. Metageeky Platypus Warlock, member for 2 months, says, what's the last book you read and enjoyed? Let's see, actually, it's probably, oddly enough, a game book, and it is quite possibly this one. This is Star Trek Adventures, Shackleton Expanse Campaign Guide. It is the one that I'm using as the basis for the Star Trek Adventures Let's Play game that I am running over on Top Hats Off with Chesh and Zerulon and Necro and Tiri Rana and FTFE and Jordan from Reason to Doubt. And so this has been giving me a lot of really cool adventure scenarios. There are, let's see, some of the scenarios we've already gone through. It has a lot of these one-page adventures, which is nice. It gives me a lot of flexibility when I'm running them. But there's also some longer, full-form adventures. So, let's see. I am also currently reading through this, which was a gift. The Star Shaman Song of Plangea. It is a 5e compatible campaign setting for a Paleolithic, sort of like cinematic version of Paleolithic setting for 5th edition. I do not buy Wizards of the Coast books anymore. However, I am more than happy to support independent publishers who are publishing with the 5e label. So this has some really cool stuff. It's got some monsters that, you know, I'm going to like, it's got like a Dinotherium looking guy here. That's always nice. Let's see, what are some other things that I like? I mean, it's got cool Ashdarkid. So yeah, I'm quite enjoying that. Let me see what else we have in here. So that was the last Super Chatter membership milestone chatted. Tutu when? So I have to talk with Bent. There's only one Tutu, and we both owe you a Tutu. So we're gonna figure out whether or not I'm gonna have the Tutu on the next count with Bent, or he is. And then whichever one doesn't go first, we'll just swap after the next one. Tim says, I'm a huge fan, love what you, Dr. Dan, and Guts at Gibbon do. Thank you. I really do appreciate that. Look, it really means a lot that people enjoy what I do, so. Alright. What would it take for you to speak Santa in a video? So in case you guys don't know, that is a reference to one of the cursed conlangs from the Agma Schwa channel. Who I think is still actually in Spain visiting like Neanderthal sites, which is super cool. At least that's the last I heard from him. Last he DM'd me. That was what he was up to. So I don't know, because part of the thing is, it would be hard to work in organically, because I don't really want a Santa Claus avatar. I don't think that really fits with like the style that I usually go for my avatars. And also, it's just a giant pain to construct any sentence in Santa, and intentionally so, right? Like, that's a conscious choice that was made. So, I guess large sums of money, and I don't really have a figure right now as to what that would be. By the way, I do plan on this going about an hour. The only way to extend that would basically be if I just had a backlog of super chats that I had to get through. Fred Harvey says, what? Dapper isn't really a dinosaur? I'm shocked. No, that is incorrect. This is, in fact, a human suit that I put on occasionally. When I want to interact on a more person-to-person level with my audience, rather than a dinosaur-to-person level. Metageeky Platypus Warlock, who's been a member for 2 months, and is at the tetrapod level, says, what's the last... Oh, wait, no, I already read that. Why is the Liz D super chat not coming up in my viewer activity? Whatever, I'll read it anyway. Liz D for $5 says, here's a little for Doggie. I wish you a Merry Christmas, and AIG is a bag of Kent Hovens. Yes, they are. Thank you very much. Do note that, just like the last few streams, or the last couple streams, I suppose, half of what I make today is going to go to help fund Carmen's vet bills, who is, in fact, the little dog who you see in the emojis that we have, which I just clicked the wrong thing to show the emojis. You can tell I'm definitely super prepared for this. Let's see. Goofball Gorgon Uskea for $5 says, in Klingon, I'm not a linguist. Random chatter, yes you are. I'm not a linguist, so there isn't technically a word for linguistics in Klingon. There's a word for language and science, so like Holkerd is usually what's used as linguistics. But I don't... That's not an official word that's in, like, the dictionary or in any of the official word lists. So, like, should you use it to construct further words like linguist? I don't really know. It's a little tricky there, but let's see. What would it... So, Tej is scientist. So, I'm not a language science, or I'm not a language scientist, would be, let's see. Bet. And then everyone can say, yes, you are. Let's see. What else do we have? What would it take for you to speak? Still, already read that. It's human suit. The CGI human suit Dapper made is very convincing. Yes, this is one of my more realistic CGI creations. Is this a doggy fundraiser? Is Dapper's doggy sick? All right, so Liz D. I will give a quick rundown of what happened. So this dog, so in case people don't know, I do live in the same house as Ben Hovend, and he has 2 dogs that, while they're primarily his dogs, you know, I do like them, and I will take care of them when he can't, or, you know, get them treats or buy them toys occasionally. One of his dogs, Carmen, she had an enlarged anal gland, which burst, and there was a wound, and that... She was very good at hiding that fact that there was a problem until it was already a serious problem. And so we had to take her to the vet, and the vet also found a mass of tissue that may or may not be cancerous. So in addition to emergency veterinary care, because all the other vets were closed, this also has turned into a potential cancer diagnosis that we're still waiting on. And it was very expensive. And so the last few streams, I have said that half of what I make on those streams will be going to the fundraiser. If anyone would like to put the fundraiser in the chat, I think I have it up here. It is also a great way to help out. We have raised $685 out of the 1.5K goal. That does not include what we made in the last stream, because I have not gotten the final count from YouTube, so that I can divide that and send that. And I'm going to be sending it to the GoFundMe. So, let's see. Lieutenant Fitz of Rage says, reporting for duty, do you think you might ever make it out to East San Diego County to see the formerly ICR Creation Museum with Tabernacle replica? It's certainly possible. I don't currently have any plans to go out there. I mean, I'm almost certainly going to end up back in California at some point. So, it would be nice. I looked around at, like, what are the, like, Creationist museums I could go to. I don't remember if I saw that one, but, like, if it's a Creationist museum, I'm certainly interested in going to it, because I do like to know what they're up to. Let's see. Jillian Rock Candy Mammoth Wren says, "Are there any novels you enjoy?" It's been a while since I read a novel. I think the last novel that I enjoyed was one of the Mistborn novels from Brandon Sanderson. I think it was the second one. So that was, I think, the most recent novel I've read, but that was a little while ago. It's one of the problems is I spend a lot of my time in reading, either doing game prep for RPG sessions or reading like technical papers or books and things like that. So yeah, it's been a little while. We got a few more super chats in here. Skeptics and Scoundrels for $10. Thank you very much. Says, thoughts on Star Trek 3. Highly underrated. Such memorable scenes. The Enterprise burning up in the atmosphere. Kind of like my first relationship. I'm actually a really big fan of Star Trek 3, only in part because I really like that it's the movie that introduced basically the idea of constructed languages to like pop culture as a whole. Because really, before Klingon, there really was not a whole lot of idea of like people constructing a language for a fictional group of people in a fictional setting. And Mark Okrand really stepped up to the plate, and he created not an unflawed language, but I think a really fun one that is pretty cool. Also, the performances were nice. We got You can't really understand Kirk's emotional arc in Star Trek 6 without Star Trek 3. So it's really foundational for one of what I think is the more important to the overall canon of Star Trek movies is Star Trek 6, because it sets up the Khitomer Accords, which then leads to in canon, the big difference between the relationship between the Klingon Empire and the Federation that's in the Next Generation. So I think it's really important, and I think it's underrated. Do I think it's as good as The Wrath of Khan? Probably not. I do think, though, it's closer to Star Trek 4 than most people give it credit for. Fred Harvey for $20 redo says, I guess every little helps. Hope Doggo gets better. So yeah, I really do hope she gets better. She's currently, the physical wound is healing well. She's much more active. She is eating more easily. She's taking her medicine like a champ. Of course, it's smothered in peanut butter, so that makes it a little bit easier. But the real big question now is, does she have cancer? And the problem is, if she does, it's almost certainly a kind of cancer that she's not going to recover from. So, yeah. But either way, the vet has been paid out of Ben's rather modest means. So, Juliana Delasato for €249 says, Doggy love, have you seen Let It Snow, Make It So Picard? Yes, I have. I find that to be one of the a very enjoyable little Christmas song there. Make It So is a lot of fun. And I love all the clipped together lines, which they work pretty well. Let's see. Ren tax bills are just lines on paper. Says for $1.99. Would you ever debate Kent again? I don't know. I don't want to say no for certain because I can't see the future, and I guess someone could induce me to debate Kent. I don't currently plan to debate Kent again. I would need some kind of incentive to do it beyond just like, oh, you get to debate Kent. Kent is kind of worthless at this point. Even most other creationists know that. He doesn't say anything new. And I really do feel like my debate with him that I did way back at the beginning of the channel was pretty devastating as it is. So it's a certain point, it's sort of like, what else do I have to prove? I mean, I showed that he doesn't know what a dinosaur is. Dr. Dino doesn't know what a dinosaur is, and I proved it. So yeah, probably not. The answer is probably not. It's not a certain that I won't do it, but I have no plans, and it would probably require special circumstances. Maybe if there was a big charity thing. Let's see. Lieutenant Fitz of Rage has gifted 5 memberships. Thank you very much. I am not doing the drinking rules, but I am having a eggnog latte, and I'll take a sip. Whatever. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have in the chat? I am a little bit behind, except on super chats because I have 2 windows open and whatnot. Julian Wren says that your cat stepped on your hair. I hope your hair is okay. Let's see. Can you please? So Becca Justiniano says, "Can you please explain metalinguistics?" I'm not sure that I can because I'm not familiar with that term. So, I'm sorry. I don't think I can. Let's see. Roshina Polydactyl Jesus Keller for 19.99, thank you very much, says, Kent often claims that all atheists believe in something because one person he claims is an atheist said a thing. What arbitrary theist minority belief would annoy Kent if projected onto him, excluding flat Earth? So I think one really good one would be if you just projected onto him that he believes in the Immaculate Conception, because he really, really doesn't like Catholics, like at all. And so that is obviously a theistic belief, right? There's no reason to believe in the Immaculate Conception of Mary if you're not a theist, and specifically a Christian, and very specifically a Catholic. So I think, yeah, if you were to start just saying, well, like, Kent believes in the Immaculate Conception, he would probably get really annoyed at that. And justifiably so. But only in the same way that it's justifiable when atheists get angry at him for them misrepresenting his beliefs. Or, sorry, their beliefs. Myral Randar with their third super chat on the channel, thank you very much, for $2, says, what is your favorite quote from a real-life person? So it's probably "Be the change you want to see in the world" by which was said by Mahatma Gandhi, or at least attributed to him. And the reason I really like that is because a lot of times people complain about things that they can fix, and it is my go-to response to them. It is to just say, hey, be the change you want to see in the world, right? And it's ultimately the reason I started this channel. I basically started this channel because I was like, I feel like there needs to be more young Earth creationism debunking on YouTube, because I wanted to watch more of it. And I realized, well, why don't I make it? I know about this stuff. I have I'm smart. I can do video editing. I can do CGI. Had been learning Blender for I want to say a couple years at that point. So like, just do it. I can do it. So that is my favorite real life quote. Let's see. Have you seen the final experiment about Flurfs? What do you think their next grift will be? Okay, yes, I have been following the final experiment fairly closely. I don't talk about it a lot on the channel because it's pretty off topic, but so it's been very amusing. One thing that I think was pointed out by Greater Sapien, and I do think we should emphasize, is that Will Duffy is no friend of science. Right. Will Duffy is a young Earth creationist who believes that he will get to sit in judgment over all the non-Christians, according to his church's website. So Will Duffy is, while he did fund the final experiment, and I'm a huge fan of that, and I think he deserves all the praise for that, we need to remember he is not a friend of science, of truth, of education. He is in fact an enemy of all of these things, who happened to align with science and, skepticism and all that on one topic. So there is that. As far as what the next grift is going to be, I think it's mostly going to be the same grift. I think they're going to come up with excuses that don't work, because remember, none of their excuses have ever worked, right? There's always been more than enough evidence to say that, the flat Earth is complete nonsense. But they just go with it anyway. So I think what's going to happen is they're just going to come up with new ideas. They're going to double down on coffee cup caustics, or they're going to start putting like acrylic domes over flat Earth maps and shining flashlights through it and looking at the patterns and ignoring the fact that that doesn't actually work with things like the sun being undistorted and sunspots matching up. They're just going to hand wave that away. I think it's going to be the same grift. Specifically, though, I think Austin Whitsitt from Whitsitt Gets It, he might shift to like globe geocentrism, like Robert Sungenis. That might be the way he pivots. I'm hoping against hope that maybe Jaren will get out of flat Earth, but I don't actually expect it. I think he'll stay a flat earther. I mean, look, he already disproved the flat Earth with his own experiment, and he just didn't care, right? So, let's see. For $2, annoyed at fraudulent grifters, Gladstone says, "Hey Dapper, how'd you end up in Arizona?" That is a good question. So basically, I had been living in Massachusetts. That's where my family was. I went back to Massachusetts to go to school. And right out of school, I got a job working at a security company, monitoring a whole bunch of properties from like a central call location. And when I say a whole bunch, I mean like thousands of properties. Not most of which didn't have cameras. It was mostly alarm monitoring. For all sorts of things, right? Like power goes down, fire, burglary alarms, radiological alarms. We had some of those. Like if the radiation goes too high in a room, we get a call. And so there was a blizzard late in the year. I want to say it was March. It might have been April. It was late in the year, and there was a gigantic snowstorm that hit, and I was listening to the the news about this, and like, oh yeah, the governor's shutting down the roads, and only people who have essential jobs are going to be allowed to drive. And I'm like, yeah, that's this guy. I'm that guy with an essential job. And so as I'm trying to get to work through the blizzard, while everything is shut down, I realized it was too late in the year to deal with this much snow, and I never wanted to deal with snow ever again. And I realized it because I found myself literally being the old man from the meme who yells at clouds because the clouds were snowing on me. And I was literally in my car yelling at the clouds to stop. And I was like, all right, I need to change. Bent had already moved to Arizona, and so I knew someone in the area. And I initially moved to Phoenix, which is, like an hour-ish away from where Bent was living. But he was like, hey, yeah, it never snows here. I was like, all right, done. So I got a job in Phoenix, and I moved. And that is why and how I actually packed pretty much all my stuff into a trailer and dragged it behind a Toyota Corolla. So, yep. Let's see. Ren tax bills are just lines on papers for $4.99 says just because we have the power to make you say it, why are you so darn awesome? Honestly, I really have trouble assessing myself as far as why other people enjoy what I do. I've heard from people that I have a soothing voice. I assume that they're not lying about that. I do think that I try to maintain a pretty good level of openness and honesty with my research, with telling you where my sources come from. Also, I do think a big part of it is this thing called virtue ethics. Now, virtue ethics is not one of the more rigorous aspects of philosophical ethics and things like that. However, what it does have is a great program for you to become the person you want to be, right? Because that is the point of virtue ethics, is practice every day doing the things that make you into the person you want to be. The reason I do that is because I have not always been the person I want to be. And so when I say to myself, okay, who do I want to be? Do I want to be kind or cruel? Do I want to be intelligent or unintelligent? Do I want to be obstinate or willing to listen to people? And so every day, whenever there's a question as to what should I do, the way that I answer that question is by saying, okay, which action could I do that will lead to me being the person I want to be, a person I want to like? And so that's a big part of it, is just practicing a virtue ethic. Now, does that solve all the problems of deep philosophical, ethical questions like should the death penalty be allowed, or I don't know, what is the correct way to organize a society for maximum equity between peoples, or what is the proper response to laws that you find immoral in your society? No, it doesn't answer all of those questions, right? But on a day-to-day basis, in my interactions with individuals, it does a really good job. Let's see. Goofball Gorgon Utskea for $5 says, is the latte virgin or alcoholic? It is virgin. I am not drinking probably at all today. If I do have a drink of alcohol, it'll probably be pretty small. I don't plan to get drunk. I don't even really plan to drink at all. So, yeah. Joran, 12 hours for a few seconds stacks for $5 says, what was it like working with nuclear technology in the Navy and in the private sector? If you don't want to say, I understand. So I never actually worked with nuclear technology in the private sector. When I went into the industry in the private sector, I went straight to just general industrial electrical equipment. So medium and high voltage stuff that was not necessarily tied to nuclear power. I never worked in a civilian plant or anything like that. So I can't say what it was like in the civilian world. In the Navy, I'll be honest, it sucked. It was... I don't recommend it. If you know anyone who is thinking about joining the Navy to go into their nuclear program, it does give you some decent educational opportunities afterwards, and there are some okay job opportunities, although the state of the nuclear industry is always in flux in the US, so sometimes it's actually not that great when you get out. But it was extremely abusive. It was in service of, basically just war crimes, which is a lot of what the US did and does. So from an ethical standpoint, from a standpoint of your own well-being, I don't recommend it. I don't know of too many people who do not. Let me back up a second. I do not know very many people who got out of the Navy nuclear program without pretty significant mental health problems that were caused by the Navy. It's pretty common, actually. Also, it has the highest suicide rate in the Navy, is that program. So that should probably tell you something about what it's like. It's not a good time. I don't recommend it. All right, let's see what else we've got here. So that was the flirt question. Sir Mix-a-Lot says, God has back says, weren't you a linguist? No, I have never actually been a linguist. So for me to be a linguist, you would have to be doing some linguistics research and either publishing or in hopes to publish eventually. I am not doing any of that. I am a linguistics enthusiast, is what I like to say. Jillian Rock, Candy Mammoth Wren says, Merry Christmas from the kids. Well, Merry Christmas to the kids. I hope they're having a wonderful Christmas. Let's see. Let's see. I'm looking for the other questions. Mark Right-Handed Smith, there we go. Does I'd ask you what anti-magnetism is, but that is Dr. Tapioca Weasel's territory. I don't even think is that a thing? It seems like it's a thing that isn't a thing. I believe I already answered this, but let's see. Oh, I just lost my place. I'm sorry. There was someone, I'm not sure who. Oh, here it is. Goofball Gorgon Utskea says, alcoholic or non-alcoholic nog in the latte. I did kind of answer that, but it's non-alcoholic. Let's see. Usually I just buy my own non-alcoholic like eggnog, and if I want to add alcohol, I do, and I don't think I've added any alcohol to eggnog this year. Honestly, really, when I'm on the drinking streams is the times that I drink by far the most. I actually just usually don't drink between those streams. So, yeah. And I don't really want to have a second drinking stream today. Let's see. Vadim Marchenko says, you wanted to watch more Kent? You got an issue. Well, I mean, part of it is that it's become my job, right? I don't actually watch Kent in my spare time. I only watch Kent on Kent with Bent. Or very occasionally, if someone sends me a Whack an Atheist that Kent did about someone specific that I have an interest in, then I'll watch like a few minutes of that, and usually he just doesn't say anything worth even paying attention to. But yeah, for the most part, I only watch Kent with Bent when I'm being paid to, basically. Which means if you want me to stop watching Kent with Bent, stop showing up to the stream, I guess. Let's see. Those aren't questions. Let's see. Todd Ferguson, Fulfillment Supervisor, says, Will Duffy is part of the 9F Denver Bible Church, a Protestant evangelical hate church. They're also young earth creationist, particularly Real Science Radio. Yes, that is why I am in agreement with Greater Sapien, who I know has had he had a controversy back in the day. I don't really care. I wasn't really a part of that. But he's absolutely right when he says that Will Duffy is not a friend of science, and now that he has helped out the globe with this, he should be treated like any other pseudoscientist. And it's actually one of the few areas where myself and MC Toon would differ is his willingness to work with young Earth creationists who are globe believers. I don't think that just not getting wrong the globe is a good enough reason to say someone is on like the side of reason and science and skepticism and education and whatnot. Will Duffy, I know less about the hate group stuff. I know that based on the kind of church he's in, Will Duffy is almost certainly a homophobe and a transphobe, but I have not been following him well enough to have actually seen examples of that. But yeah, at the very least, I know he's a young Earth creationist, and he should not be let off the hook for that. So, what I would like to see is some of the people who do globe stuff, not necessarily pivot to young Earth creationist debunking, because that's not, that's a big change. Their audience might not follow them there, but at least acknowledge that Will Duffy has these problems and that this is not like really an improvement over flat earthers. Let's see. Sir Mix-a-Lot says, God has back for 100 Argentinian pesos, says, not to be anti-magnetist, But effing magnets, how do they work? Yeah, man, no one knows. It's a mystery. But then Savage, Mayan, Ziggurat, Cobra gifted 10 memberships. Thank you so much. I really do appreciate that. Roshina, Polydactyl Jesus Keller for $4.99 says, what's your favorite eggnog brand? And where does Shamrock rank? What about pumpkin spice eggnog? Look, honestly, I usually just get the original store brand eggnog from the grocery store here, which is a Kroger. Well, it's a Kroger, like, it's technically it's a Fry's, but Fry's was bought by Kroger, and now it's just a brand name that operates under the Kroger label. So it's basically the Kroger brand eggnog because I'm cheap. And yeah, that is it my favorite? No, probably not, but I don't know what my favorite is because I know there are other better ones. But like I think I got like a quart of it for I don't know, like $3 or $5 or something, so it was fine. Dan the Man Crow, who's been a member for 1 month and is at the Tetrapod level, says, so you were a synapsid after all? No, this is a costume. I don't get why people don't realize how unrealistic this silly costume is. Savage Mayan Ziggurat Cobra for $5 says, what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow? What do you mean, African or European? Let's see. Vidimarchenko says, no way interesting Jaren will quit, well, he says quite, but I think he means quit, flurfism. Yeah, I don't know, man, because look, we need to understand that him just going to Antarctica on its own is a big deal. And it took a lot of courage for him to do that, and it wasn't easy, and he admitted that the sun didn't set, which itself was a big deal, right? He predicted very strongly that it would set. That it would set. And it just didn't. And you know what? That's not nothing. That's not easy to do. But does that mean he's actually going to come around? I hope so, but I don't actually expect it, is basically where that's going. So let's see. Roshina Polydactyl Jesus Keller for $1.99 says, Fry's is where you get pumpkin eggnog. Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about pumpkin spice eggnog and whatnot. Yeah, I usually don't go for the fancy flavored eggnogs. Just the original is fine, which is primarily flavored with sugar, cinnamon, nutmeg, and cloves. The cloves really do help sell it, though. Without the cloves, it just doesn't taste like eggnog. It's a really important ingredient, and I'm a big fan of cloves. Let's see. Vidimarchenko says, what were the common sources of radiation which would trigger your alarms? So it was a medical facility, and it was a radiology lab. So they had their own radioactive sources that they were using for radiometric imaging. And if they had those in like containment areas, and if someone were to leave something out of containment, like maybe they were just putting down their stuff and they forgot that they had a radio source, or if someone were to break in to steal something, that would set off the radiation alarms. So yeah, it was a medical radiological laboratory. Mark Right-Handed Sith Smith says, if con is the opposite of pro, does that mean that Congress is the opposite of progress? I mean, it certainly seems that way. Yeah, so, yeah. And of course, that etymology doesn't entirely work, but I don't care because it's a fun joke. Let's see. Sealoof says, question, what's the real story behind Dapper Dinosaur's hate of pelagic tunicates? Okay, so it started over on Jackson Wheat's channel. I don't remember which video of his it's on, but I was there as a guest. It was a live stream. And for some reason, Tunicates came up. And to me, Tunicate says, sessile, bottom-dwelling filter feeder, right? With the weird two-way pulmonary system, all that stuff, dissolve its own brain. And I had only recently found out that there were, in fact, pelagic tunicates, which seemed like just an offense to the natural order. And so I stated that I was not a fan of that on that. And for effect, I exaggerated it a bit. And now it is the meme that it is. And yeah. So I basically just found out that they existed and they seemed like an affront to the natural order. Let's see. We got a super chat from Roshina Polydactyl Jesus Keller for $4.99, which says, but Fry/Kroger's eggnog has so many gums in it. It's so thick. Look at the ingredients. Okay, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, when you mix it into coffee, it's not very thick. This just tastes, or it just has the consistency of regular old coffee. Let's see. I mean, okay, it's a little thicker, but not by a lot. Goofball Gorgon says, is a lot... Oh, nope, that's... Sorry. Until I get past these, I'm going to keep getting tripped up by them. Let's see. Orthosaurus says, favorite Cambrian animal if it is Anomalocaris, second one, lol. So I'm a really big fan of Opabinia regalis. I think it is adorable, and I wish that there were something descended from it that were still around. I think Opabinia is peak Cambrian stem arthropod. So that is the answer there. For $2, Metageeky Platypus Warlock says, favorite cephalopod and why? Ooh. I really like the Pacific giant octopus. In part because there was one an aquarium I went to. I really liked seeing it there. I also liked that I used to live right at the habitat for the Pacific giant octopus. They're just, when you think of an octopus like from a movie, that's what you're probably thinking of, is like the Pacific giant octopus. Like, people aren't thinking of like the blue-ringed octopus. It's like this big. So yeah, that's probably my favorite cephalopod, and just because it's so like iconic as an octopus, even though it's very unusual as an octopus, it still seems to be sort of like the octopus. Sort of like how Stegosaurus is actually really unusual for a Stegosaurid, and yet it's still the Stegosaurus. The Stegosaurus Stegosaurid. Savage Mayan Ziggurat Cobra for $5 says, so the problem with pelagic tunicates is they are tops when they should be bottom. Yes, that is in fact the problem. So let's see, what else do we have? Roshna Polydactyl Jesus Killer says, too much tequila yesterday. It was a lot. I definitely felt it. I was not hungover in the morning. So there was that. But that's only because I stopped hard at the end of the show. If you ever join me for the Power Rangers watch parties after the shows, you'll know that usually I have like a beer or something afterwards as part of my like wind down from the show. And I did not do anything like that last night. After I finished that last Santa Berry Blast with tequila, I was just like, all right, done. I had some more. I had the virgin version, which is the normal version. So I had some more the blueberries and raspberries and cranberry juice and lemon lime soda, but it had no tequila. And I have not had any tequila or other alcohol since. So let's see. Dutch Tunicate Demonic Selection says, how did the 7+ shots of tequila treat you? I mean, I fell asleep pretty promptly. Yeah. Let's see. This Sealoof says, question, Dapper Dinosaur, thoughts on juvenile T-Rex versus Nanotyrannus? Look, I think Nanotyrannus is a juvenile T-Rex. I believe that is still the consensus, and I don't think that's gonna like get overturned anytime soon. That seems pretty well established at this point. Yeah, I don't think that's gonna change. Would it be cool if Nanotyrannus was its own small species of theropod? Yeah, that'd be really cool. I just don't think it is. Vladimir says, only Swiss Army doesn't cause much PTSD. Yeah, they probably don't. I mean, they tend to stay out of most conflicts. Jillian Rock Candy Mammoth Friend says, have you considered getting a P.O. box? I have. I don't really know why I haven't. Other than, it takes a lot of convincing for me to believe that people actually want to do things for me, even, like, sign up for my Patreon. It was a combination of like Chash, Maya Atkinson, someone else who isn't super in the community anymore, and a few other people like really urged me, like, you should get a Patreon before I even set one up. And it was mostly because I was just like, why do people don't want to give me money? Why would you want to give me money? It turns out, no, actually, I was wrong. People did want to do that. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just really bad at considering the possibility that people actually want to support me. Roshina Polydactyl Jesus Keller for $1.99 says, you missed a super chat. Oh no, which one did I miss? Oh, there it is. Lieutenant Fitz of Rage. Are your adoptive human parents currently young Earth creationists? What's your relationship with them? So, I don't. So I know that my father is not a young Earth creationist. I'm pretty sure he was. But as he drifted away from evangelical Christianity towards other, oddly enough, more traditional versions of Christianity, which are less likely to be young Earth creationist, he seems to have just kind of dropped that. My mom doesn't really talk about it, and she knows what the main focus of the channel is, and she doesn't seem to complain about that. But on the other hand, every once in a while, she'll say things that seem like she's at least like a intelligent design type person. And so I don't really talk with her about that in particular. But I mean, we do have a good relationship. I called them earlier today. They're visiting with my brother in South Carolina to see their grandkids out there, and of course, my brother and his wife. Um, and they sent me a Christmas gift earlier today. We talk. They visit every once in a while. They visit Arizona about every other year. And so, when they visit, I hang out with them. So yeah, we have a good relationship. I don't think that this has been the thing that has ruined the relationship, which I recognize is lucky for me. I know a lot of people who are not as lucky as me when it comes to getting rid of a belief that their parents held and then still maintaining a good relationship with their parents. I'm lucky. I have parents who are definitely I don't want to say better, but I guess it is better than some of the people I know who were raised in fundamentalist Christian situations where when they stopped being that, it was a big problem. Now, part of that is, again, I think because my dad stopped being a fundamentalist Christian, right? He decided that really wasn't for him, and so he went towards more liturgical, more, oddly enough, theologically conservative versions of Christianity, which then means less science denial. So, yeah, let's see. Juliana Delicato, who's been a member for 14 months, is at the tetrapod level, says, "You're the only YouTuber I'm subscribed to. You're great." Well, thank you very much. My goodness, that's the only one. Wow. Look, I really appreciate that. I'm always blown away by the level of support that you guys have for me. It really is amazing. Let's see. Kent Bohemian Devonian Denisovan Halstead says, "What benefit would God get from having Windows on the firmament instead of Linux or Mac OS?" Well, see, Windows is the actual majority dome setup for all of the different worlds in the multiverse by all the other 70 gods, and so yeah, he basically gets to consult with them for help. The majority of the other gods. There's only a minority who use Mac OS or Linux. So, of course, if he needs to update the firmament, it's a lot easier with Linux. But what are you gonna do? Let's see. Casual Sleeping Dragons question: Since you're a Ceratosaurus, did you live out the entire time between the Jurassic and now, or did you go through a time portal? So the exact details there are in fact classified, but I did live through most of the Jurassic. I'll say that. But there are hints as to what happened if you pay attention to the channel. Let's see. Vladimirenchenko. Oh, of course, I was thinking civilian homes were. Oh yeah, no, it wasn't civilian homes where there were rat sources. Yeah, it was definitely medical stuff. Mark Right-Hand Smith just sends a bunch of pelagic tunicates, which is disgusting. Let's see. Alex Markle says, "Any animal that looks like a sex toy is peak comedy." You are not wrong, and pelagic tunicates are one of those. They really are. Silus's question: Can we have a poll on whether people prefer tutu or human suit Dapper on Dino Dapper? Well, I mean, here's the thing, right? So if we hit the tutu value on account with Bent puts on a tutu. But if we ever hit the Dapper tutu, then I put on both the tutu and the human suit. So you don't have to vote, because you get both. So, let's see. Savage Mind Ziggurat Cobra for $5 says, "What is Jack Horner's hottest take in your opinion?" I think it's that T-Rex was not a predator in any significant sense. I mean, we have dinosaur bones that show tooth marks that then later healed from Tyrannosaurus Rex, which means that it was attacking a living creature, which means that it wasn't scavenging that creature. It was predating on that creature. So yeah, I think that's his craziest hot take. Now, don't get me wrong, hot takes are important for science, right? You need people who are willing to say, hey, what if this crazy thing that isn't precluded by the data, but that's, people aren't really considering. Oh, and great, there goes my video. Let me see if it comes back. Oh, there it is. So I don't want to, Jack Horner has some crazy ideas, and I think many of them are in fact wrong. But I don't want to make that seem like that means that he's not a valuable person to have in paleontology, or that all of his ideas are wrong, or that he's a crank, because that's not my opinion of him. But yeah, I do think the scavenger only T-Rex is just not a good take. Roshan Polydactyl Jesus Keller for 199 says, have you seen the movie The Man from Earth? Yes, that is about the immortal who ends up having been Jesus and whatnot, I believe. I saw that with Bent and his brother on a Discord call. We all hang out. That's actually one of the ways that I really like to hang out with my internet friends, is just hang out in a Discord call and stream a movie together. And yeah, I thought it was a lot of fun. I mean, obviously it's a micro-budget film with, some not all professional actors. So if you're someone who's hypersensitive to stuff like that, then it might not be for you. But if you're okay with, micro budgets indie films, which I'm very much okay with, yeah, check it out. The Man from Earth is a good time. Let's see. Jillian Rock Candy Mammoth Wren says, are you familiar with the legend that the world's largest individual octopus lives under the Tacoma Narrows Bridge in the remains of Galloping Gertie? I had actually not heard that one. I like it, though. I'm a fan of this urban legend. Do I think it's true? No. But I find it amusing. So, let's see. Lieutenant Fits of Rage says, missed mine, but I think I then did go back to get it. Yeah, adoptive human parents. All right, I do apologize for that. Look, guys, sometimes I miss super chats. Please just let me know. It's not intentional. I don't think I've ever intentionally skipped a super chat. Let's see. Bitcore says, how many other dinosaurs in human suits are there? Well, it's hard to tell, right? Because if it's a good enough human suit, you can't really tell. But I think I know of at least 2 others, but I can't say who. So, we're out there, though. Let's see. The Venerable Bead says, apparently the discovery of a younger juvenile has called into question that Nanotyrannus is a juvenile T-Rex, but I don't know personally. So here's the thing, right? Even if there is... Well, first, we know that there's more than one morph of Tyrannosaurus Rex, and so it's possible that their ontogeny actually diverged between the morphs fairly early on, which could then account for that. And the other thing is, even if Nanotyrannus isn't a juvenile T-Rex, it's a juvenile of something. So, what else would it be? But hey, I mean, look, I could be wrong. Maybe Nanotyrannus is in fact its own genus. Let's see. Silu says, you've been offered a home-sewn rainbow tutu if you open a P.O. box. That does sound nice. Let's see. Roshan Polydactyl Jesus Keller for $4.99 says, they made a sequel to The Man from Earth. I own it, but haven't watched it yet. Oh, I didn't know that. I might have to check that out. Because I did like the original movie, so... Okay. Let's see. Fate Degrade, Don't Build a Tower of Bubble Bubble says, was your name always Dapper, or did you choose it for yourself? I did choose it for myself. Basically, based on just the fact that it was alliterative. Dapper Dinosaur. I wanted something alliterative, and it was right there. Silu says, I remember Dapper calling his mom on stream to ask for parental permission to watch a vid. Yeah, well, the presenter said that you should get parental permission, so I figured, okay, I'll call my mom. And she gave me permission, which was very much appreciated. She also seemed extremely confused. Yeah, my mom's great. She's a good sport. Let's see. Vadim Radchenko says, so the Table of Nations is actually a table of star systems. I'm going to go with yes, even though that's absolutely not true. But it works with my previous idea about the 70 gods each having their own planets, most of which have windows. Please do not present that to an actual Bible scholar as well, Dapper said. That's just a joke. Let's see. Silu says, why are you in a liquid tank in your intro vid? Well, that's technically classified, but I would double check and watch maybe, let's see, Star Wars, the original trilogy. Check the original trilogy of Star Wars. That would be my recommendation. Because if I say too much, then, the USGS is not only going to pull my funding, but they might just that. Let's see. Vadim Radchenko says, but have you considered Satan faking dino bones? I actually have considered that, and I rejected that possibility for multiple reasons. Silu says, no, I remember when the tutu thing started, it was to get a tutu on your non-suited dino self. When you just shifted to putting the tutu on bent, I felt cheated. I'm sorry, but there are technical reasons why it is the way it is that have to do with how quickly I can get videos out. Mark Right-Handed Sith Smith says, joke question, how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? No need to answer, just thought of this as a laugh. Well, woodchuck would chuck all the wood a woodchuck could if a woodchuck could chuck wood. That's how much. Let's see, where are we? Vadimarchenko says, I heard much worse YouTube new prophets. Heard much worse from YouTube new prophets and apologists. Not sure what that was in relationship to, but I'm glad that I'm not as bad as the worst of the YouTube noob prophets and apologists. So that is bringing. I am now caught up, and it is also coming up to an hour. So I will be up for a little bit longer for AMA stuff. I do want to say thank you very much to everyone who's been here. You guys are. I mean, it's Christmas Day, and there's still 70 of you or so. Please do make sure you hit like. And I really do appreciate all the new 20 gifted memberships. Is awesome, and you guys have been super chatting some great questions and stuff. So, let's see. CeeLo says Bacta tank. Maybe. Jillian Rock Candy Mammoth Run says USGS hit squad for anyone who has a name change available. Yeah. If you have a name change available, USGS hit squad might be a good one. Jillian Rock Candy Mammoth Wren says, some of us had our holiday 4 days ago. I mean, hey, that's true. Not everyone celebrates Christmas, and that's absolutely great. If you're not celebrating Christmas, I'm just hoping that you're having a wonderful Wednesday. It's Wednesday, right? Yes. Dan the Man Crow gifted 5 Dapper Dinosaur memberships. Thank you so much. So if you think back to earlier when I said it took a lot of convincing for me to just get a Patreon in the first place, that's, again, because it really seems weird to me, even to this day, that people want to support me enough to do things like gift memberships, join the Patreon, send super chats. So I really want to say thank you. It really does mean a lot, because I never expect it. So, all right. Well, I think what we're going to do is we're going to start taking a look at what is coming up in the next few days for the channel. So let's take a look at that. Just to keep you guys appraised. Oh, why is my mouse being stupid? Look at this fancy mouse, but every once in a while I think I press the wrong button and it does stupid things. Alright, so tomorrow we've got Jeffrey Tompkins is Salty. That is going to be the follow-up to the Jeffrey Tompkins at the Mysteries of the Deep video. That will be at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Then on Friday, over on Top Hats Off, I have had it requested that I do a stream about how to play Star Trek Adventures. And so I'm going to do a rules overview stream so that people can understand what I'm talking about when I talk about rule stuff when we're playing that. So if you ever wanted to know the basics of Star Trek Adventures First Edition, head over there. It's very similar to Star Trek Second Edition. So if you learn the basics of First Edition, you'll be set up if you want to play Second Edition instead. Which the reason I'm not playing Second Edition is just because I had already planned out the campaign with First Edition rules and had all the First Edition books. So I just decided I'm going to stick with it rather than trying to get a new core rule book and whatnot. Let's see. Mark Right-Handed Sith Smith says, I'm celebrating not being at work and still getting paid day. Always a good day. Shara Bradford for $20 redo says, happy holidays and hope the doggo is going to be okay. I just got up and the weather is gorgeous. Well, I am happy that your weather is gorgeous. As far as the doggo going to be okay, it will heavily depend on the results from the cancer screening. If it's negative, we will still probably later on have a biopsy taken just for confirmation of the negative check, because she has to have a follow-up inspection anyway to see how the wound's healing and whatnot. So yeah. And remember, half of the proceeds from this are going to the GoFundMe, just like from yesterday and the Saturday before. Let's see. Vadimarchenko says, please do a special focus on extra characters. I love the idea, and I'm using old character tree from Dark Sun in my D&D games. Yes, I will make sure to go over the supporting characters, which is what that mechanic is called. And hey, if there's a particular area of interest in the rules for Star Trek Adventures that you have, make sure you show up for the stream so that you can ask about it specifically. Because, I mean, I will be totally open to taking questions about the rules. T. Hartman for $2 says, if you drink Scotch, I recommend Belvine Double Wood. I do drink Scotch, but very rarely because I am a cheap bastard and Scotch is usually too expensive. Or if it's cheap enough, then I would rather just get more of a even cheaper whiskey. So for me, it's like, until you get to like $50, $60 a bottle, I would rather just have more cheaper whiskey. And then above that, okay, now it's time for Scotch. But that also means I very rarely buy it because it's expensive. And that was also T. Hartman's third super chat, so thank you very much. All right, so last thing is Saturday. I am going to be doing another Tower of Babel video, taking a look at Bodhi Hodge's book about the Tower of Babel, hopefully with both Kip Davis and Vishanti. So if you have been enjoying that series, which I know a fair few of you have been, I've been enjoying doing it. That'll be on Saturday at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. And I want to say thank you so much to everyone who's here. We're going to start wrapping up here. And I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week. And if you're celebrating Christmas, I hope you have a wonderful Christmas. And yeah. So please enjoy and stay safe. Roshino Polydactyl Jesus Keller says pumpkin spice whiskey exists. That doesn't make me want it. Look, if you like pumpkin spice, right? And you want pumpkin spice everything, go for it, man. I am not here to rain on your parade. It's just not usually my thing. And that's okay. I don't have to like everything you like. You don't have to like everything I like. We can have different opinions about food and other entertainment things and all sorts of stuff, and that's okay. Because the world is full of different people who like different things and who are good at different things. That's a good thing. All right, bye everybody. I'm going to get out of here and enjoy the rest of my Christmas. And I will see you again during Christmas tomorrow in the chat, because it'll still be Christmas. Bye, everybody. Hey, before you leave, I just want to take a second to thank my patrons and channel members, especially those pledging $20 or above. Ben Tovand, Ferravara, Tapioca Weasel, Whispers, Eleron Teller, Ian Chen, Kelvin Brostick Van Manen, Landon Knoll, Mabdy Babdy, Wallace, Max Cherry, North Texas Fossils, John Ackerman, and Strawberry Vein. It's because of my channel members and patrons whom you're seeing on screen that this channel can stay afloat. Without you, it would all shut down. If you want to join the team, there's a link to join the channel below this video, and there's a link to join the Patreon in the description. On the Patreon, you can get a 10% discount for pledging annually, and either way, you get early access to virtually all of my scripted videos, often 3 to 5 months before they come out for the general public. Thanks for watching.